On the 83rd Air Force Day, it's a big announcement by the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshall Arup Raha. Speaking at the Air Force Day parade, the Air Chief said that the Indian Air Force is looking to induct women pilots for flying fighter aircraft. Women pilots only fly helicopters and transport aircraft, though in the most difficult circumstances they fly in combat areas. But now, for the first time ever, they're being trained to fly. They will be trained to fly fighter aircraft. A massive show of the country's air power was on display at the Air Force Day parade at Hindon Air Base. The main function was at the Hindon Air Base close to Delhi. The main attraction was the display of the aircraft in IAF's inventory, including the Advanced Airborne Warning and Control System, the AWACS, the French fighters, the Mirage 2000, the Jaguars, the MiG-21, MiG-29s and the Su-30 MKI, which will now carry the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile system. Apart from frontline fighters, the Air Force also displayed its helicopters, the Mi-17s, Dhruv and other military hardware. There was also a display of the Suryakiran aerobatics team, and that took everyone's breath away.
We have women pilots flying transport aircraft and helicopters. We are now planning to induct them into the fighter stream to meet the aspirations of young women in India.
There were a handful of people who perhaps weren't surprised, but for a majority of us all, including those wearing the uniform, this decision, this announcement came as a total surprise. Let's speak to the affected party, so to say, women officers. Ma'am, I would like to know from all of you, this announcement that was made today, what does it mean for you?
I'm Flying Officer Kirti Baba. I'm in Education Branch of Indian Air Force. It's a big day for us. This announcement has instilled a lot of confidence again back in us. And now I think we are no less than male officers. We are at par with them.
Okay, not that there was ever a doubt, but I would still like to understand, when you say combat flying, and that too especially in a fighter plane, it does bring in a lot of physical challenges as well, something that the Air Chief also mentioned about. Do you think this really is a barrier anymore?
No, I don't think it is a barrier at all. We have women in every sphere of life, and be it fighters or transports. My name is Flight Lieutenant Sandeep and I'm a technical officer in Sarang team. So I was speaking that we have women in all spheres of life. So we can see women in Jaguars also as technical officers and Su-30. And since the Chief has announced that there will be pilots, women pilots in Su-30s and fighters, so I feel very proud. And as a mental barrier, yes, and we are here to overcome it.
Okay, I would like to know from you, when most people think of the Air Force, they only think of planes like this. When you started on your journey, and of course back then this was a stream which wasn't allowed for women officers, but was there ever a thought that why not? Why not us inside the cockpit of a fighter plane?
I'm Flight Lieutenant Inju Thomas, from Education Branch and the Sarang commentator. And today we are proud, and it was never that no platform was given to us. There was a step. Everything is one step at a time.
It's an evolution.
It's an evolution. So there is today, we are celebrating today as a big day. Why? Because today the thing was given to us. So that was the time. We were waiting for this time, and it was given to us, and we are happy about it.
Okay, ma'am, I understand you are an Avro pilot. Do I expect you to enroll for this program and maybe fly this particular jet that is behind us?
I'm Squad Leader Tima Matthew, and yes, I'm an Avro pilot. I've flown transports in my service, and it is an opportunity for all the women pilots who will be joining and those in service to opt if they want to, and they can fly fighters if they're given the opportunity. So if it is, I mean, it's voluntary for women who want to fly fighters, and they will undergo a certain training, and but it is a big step that this opportunity has been given.
So this is what is the sentiment on the ground. No doubt the Air Chief spoke about the need to be a progressive Air Force, but there are challenges which still remain. At least 3 to 4 years before we see the first woman officer flying a fighter jet like the one behind me, but nevertheless, it's a step which hasn't been taken before, and as I said at the start of this interview, it's a step that no one even anticipated this morning itself. With camera person Anil Jaiswal in the Hindon Air Force Station, Jugal Purohit for India Today.
Joining us now with the latest is editor Chief Arur. Chief, take us through the details. What is this training going to be like? What brought about a change in the thinking of the Indian Air Force? Because till last year, the Air Chief and the entire leadership would say women in fighter flying, no. Women in combat flying, helicopters and transport is okay. What brought about this change?
Well, I think circumstances really got off because, things have definitely changed. Last year, when Air Chief Raha had actually, made that particular comment, there was a big controversy around it. A lot of groups, women, feminists, people across the world had, balked at the Air Chief saying that women can't fly fighters because they're not biologically equipped for fighter flying. So obviously in the last 365 days there has been, a change of heart, there's been a change of perception, circumstances certainly, where the Air Chief has now said that they plan to actually induct women into the fighter stream, something that has never happened before in the Indian Air Force and happens in a handful of air forces abroad, including Israel and a couple of other countries. Now, in terms of what kind of a breakthrough this is, what kind of a break from tradition this is, impossible to state, because this is, in 83 years of the Air Force, a very small part of that has actually even seen women officers. Yes. And in the history of women in the Air Force, we're now going to see them actually flying fighters. Now, obviously, the Air Force Chief has said he plans to put them into it. The actual training of women pilots to fly fighters is going to be a whole different ball game. There will have to be a training schedule that will have to be made for women pilots. The question is, will it be different from the regime that male pilots go through, or will they have precisely the same kind of training and curriculum? All of that will now be the occupation of the Air Force to chart out what kind of process it is. But I can tell you that women pilots and women officers are very happy, and they see this as a huge breakthrough as far as their fight for equality in uniform is concerned.
Now, Shiv, in March, I was on board the USS Carl Vinson, and we had women US Navy fighter pilots flying the F-14s, and they were bombing ISIS targets across Iraq and Syria. They had absolutely no problems taking off from sea, landing back at sea in their F-14s. And that is something that perhaps would have enthused a lot of air forces, that women can fly fighter planes. There are no issues. We perhaps had a mental block, and now we are overcoming that mental block, Shiv.
Definitely a mental block, also a lot of erroneous assumptions. Remember, many people within the Air Force had said that women are not biologically equipped for the, the physical pressures of fighter flying, which involves, pulling Gs, the huge numbers of, physical pressures that you undergo in a fighter cockpit during maneuvers. Many people in the Air Force had actually said that their decision was based on the fact that women can't actually withstand the same pressures that men can. This, of course, has been found to be patently untrue. Like you said, women fighter pilots operating off aircraft carriers, which are actually much more demanding than shore-based operations. So in that sense, there's been a change of heart. There's been a realization perhaps that this mental block is outdated, it's old-fashioned, it has no place in a modern Air Force. And I think in that sense, along with new equipment coming in, new equipment that allows, a much easier experience in the cockpit, the Air Force is willing to explore the opportunity to put women into the fighter cockpit and get them into the combat zone.
Chief Arur, for the moment, many thanks for joining me.